Welcome to This Week in the PNFL. I'm your host, Mark Hill, and along with me for the ride is my co-host, Mitch Grawl. How you doing, Mitch?
Hello, hello. Glad to be here after a fine weekend.
Yes, definitely. So we have a lot to cover this week. Doing things with some of the new coaches, pointing out some issues that happened over the past week. I'm guilty of one of them. But first, we are going to start off with going through the games as far as what happened this past weekend. We're going to start with the first game, which I would definitely say is easily one of the best games I've seen in a while in this league. And that was Washington at Detroit, with Washington getting out of there with a 31-30 win. I will let you take the lead and get your analysis of the game.
Well, as we all said, you don't beat Jerry 4 times in a row, right? I think that's something like that. No, yeah, it definitely was a good game, especially the second half. I mean, the fireworks came out for sure. I tell you, it's a crazy game when the quarterback for the losing team wins player of the game, and so definitely fun. The thing that was interesting to me about it, especially you start digging into the stats, is that Detroit, I think, ran the ball. Gosh, I mean, it was like 7 times, 7 times, and had a rookie quarterback throw 54 times in the game in their first career start. So, I would have expected Detroit to lean on the running game a little bit to help that rookie quarterback out, but Coach Bloomer said that no, we're just going to throw him out there and then let him ride. And he won Player of the Game, but Kyler Murray and Washington, they actually won the game. And close score 31-30. So very entertaining.
Yeah, it's definitely entertaining. And as far as with the rookie quarterback, like they say in some places, in some cases, you got to do a trial by fire. And he definitely had his trial by fire. So I think making a couple changes to their running game, kind of mixing it up a little bit, I think that will help them out. But yeah, they're definitely moving forward. There was no mistakes there, even though they didn't win the game. I still say they'll make the playoffs towards the end. Definitely, that was definitely a great game and watched from start to finish. So good game. Next one, San Francisco at Chicago in another good game. Went to overtime. Chicago squeaking away with that one at home, 34-31.
Yeah, tell you what, when you obviously high scoring, entertaining game. When you start looking at those stat lines, though, you do kind of go, oh, gosh, how in the world was the game so close when Chicago held the ball for nearly 9 minutes more than San Francisco? San Francisco completion percentage under 50%. They were 33% on third down. And they held Chicago to 2.2 yards rushing out there. But when you give up 506 yards passing to Sam Darnold and Chicago and 4 touchdowns, hey, it makes it tough. But the stats definitely do not tell the full story of this game, being 34-31 in overtime, for sure.
Yes, definitely. And also Sam Darnold, not only was he player of the game, he also ended up walking with the title of player of the week. I mean, 506 yards and total of passing offense. That's definitely putting a lot of teams on notice that you better make sure your secondary is lined up right, and you have some good players out there. You're doing your subs probably because he's going to burn you. He's going to start winging it. So.
Yep.
Next game on the list, not as close as the first two. Atlanta, new kid on the block, 26-7 over Anaheim.
Well, Atlanta, moving this first game, moving from Kansas City to Atlanta, I think we both had Atlanta winning this game big in our preseason. I'm kidding. I think we both. I think we might have split. I think you might have taken Atlanta. I think I took Anaheim.
Yeah.
But I definitely would have thought it was going to be a closer game. But hey, you know what? It obviously ended up being a blowout there by Atlanta. Out possession Anaheim by nearly 10 minutes there, and was able to kind of suffocate Anaheim's offense. Only 263 yards of offense for Anaheim.
Yeah, having it's one of those things we've talked about before. I think during the playoffs last season, that if you have a team that has more than 10 minutes, an extended amount of time on the field, and your defense is sitting out there, there's no way you're going to be able to win the game. You're just going to grind that team down, especially if you're a team that likes to run the ball a lot, stretch it out a little bit. Just kind of get those guys worn down, and you can just start running them, and then you give them a 3 and out, and you come back and you do it all over again. It's eventually they're going to get tired. They just can't keep up. And
I'll tell you, I was interested to see who Anaheim was going to play at quarterback because they drafted a quarterback with I think the number 2 pick in the draft, and they didn't start him. They did not start that quarterback. In fact, they initially were going to put that quarterback on the practice squad, and then they had a change of heart and kept him on the active roster. So, sounds like there might be some buyer's remorse for that high draft pick for Malik Willis. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, well, I think they'll probably end up making a change to that and doing some shuffle. I mean, it's the first week, and it's kind of like I guess you could say that first game is more like a boxing match where you're trying to feel each other out and see and feel the league out because you don't know what the other team is going to do. When you get to game 4, game 5 of the season, you kind of have a good idea. But that first game or the first couple games, you're just trying to feel everybody out and seeing what wrinkles they've put in compared to last season. Because I think, as the season goes along, you kind of get set in your ways a little bit. Like, you know what, I just want to go with this game plan and just continue on with it, with changing a couple plays here or a couple play calling. But, yeah. Week 1, it's more like the feeling out game. Next one, New Orleans at New York at the Giants. New Orleans happened to walk away with that one, 24-17.
Yeah, the Norwegian nightmare, Clayton Thorson, the quarterback from New Orleans, wins player of the game, and quite frankly, gets some revenge on New York. New York completely destroyed New Orleans last year. I think it was 31-0, and New Orleans said, "Not this time." And so, nearly 300 yards for Thorson. Solid, solid there in the passing game. Defense held what typically is a very high octane New York offense to less than 300 yards. So good game overall by New Orleans.
Yep, definitely a good game overall. What were they? 67% completion rate, completions versus 53 on the completion side. So the numbers were there. Third down, 63% third down. I mean, pretty good of moving the ball right there on third down versus the Giants having 38% on third down. You got to keep the chains moving on that third down. That's that money down. So if you don't have that, you're not going to make it. Also, you have a 7-minute time difference in time of possession, 33-26. So definitely again, like I said, the previous game, you grind it. The longer you have the ball, you can grind it out and wear that team down.
Yep.
So
absolutely,
most definitely. This one here, no offense to Indy, but it was no surprise. New York played Indy in New York, and the Jets took the game 46-14.
Well, here's the big thing to this. Derek Carr didn't even get a pass attempt. Quarterback 2, Ryan Finley, ended up having to play just about the entire game in one
Mm-hmm.
player of the game and scored 46 points in doing so. So just it doesn't even matter who plays quarterback for New York. They're just going to win. They're just going to win. Looks like Derek Carr, is banged up early on. He's probable for this week. So we'll see. Likely he'll end up starting, but if he doesn't, it doesn't matter. Ryan Finley can come in and throw 3 touchdowns. Throw for nearly 300 yards, and they still win by was that 32 points.
Yep.
So
Or there's that guy that's out in the stand with the holding his coney with a mustard stain on it and a beer in his hand, and say, "Hey, you want to play? Come on down here."
yeah.
Suit him
I
up.
mean, it was. I am curious though with Indianapolis. I know they went with Jordan Love here in week one. I tell you, if I'm Indianapolis, I'm thinking about making that change to Kyle Allen, but that's just me.
Mm. Well, if you're looking at the numbers, yeah, his the discipline. I mean, one of the factors is the discipline. He's at 84. Jordan Love's at
Hands,
81.
yeah.
Yeah, and the hand. So,
Yeah, better hands, better discipline. I mean, strong arm, 95. So,
mm-hmm.
unless you want your quarterback to be a running back, I might let Allen play this year and see if I can get that discipline for Jordan Love up for next season.
Yeah, that makes a lot because the two major factors is the intelligence and discipline for quarterback. So,
Yeah,
being able to see the field, read the field, and be smart about the
yeah,
decision that you make.
yeah, yeah.
Yep. Next one, Green Bay took on New England, and Green Bay walked away with this one, 34-7.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Green Bay has a new coach that has not announced himself on the forum, but they actually do have a new coach. Is actually somebody I recruited to the league, and so uh, it'll be interesting to see how he does this year. I have a feeling that the PPPs were probably very much ones that Jerry could put together for the team getting
Mm-hmm.
started. But we'll see how that goes. But definitely off to a fast start. The thing that killed New England was the interceptions. He had 3 interceptions, absolutely killed them. And they couldn't recover from that piece of it. So
Well,
yeah,
3 interceptions, you cannot win with 3 interceptions. Throwing 3 interceptions. There was also 2 fumbles that they had as well. They didn't lose them, but the
yeah,
fumbles were still there. So that will definitely slow the momentum down if you have something
yeah,
going on with your team. So,
definitely derailed the drives.
yep.
Yeah,
Well, and the thing is, they had the ball longer than Green Bay. 33 to
yeah,
26. And
yeah,
but again, I think when you take a look at their stat line, you have to put a circle around those interceptions. You just
yeah.
can't win like that. Just
Yeah, it's tough to be 0 for 3 in the turnover differential for sure.
yeah, definitely. Next game, Minnesota at
Oh,
Jacksonville at Minnesota. Minnesota winning this one 28-10.
it makes me think of that song, that Eminem song, Jerry. Barney's back,
Yep.
back
Yep.
again.
Guess who's back?
Barney's back. Tell your friends. So I tell you what, I think Barney is back this year. I mean, absolute defensive domination by Minnesota in this game. What barely 200 yards of offense for Jacksonville. Um, I mean, it was absolutely defensive domination by the Vikings, and that's where Barney is in the past when he's on. That's what he does. He suffocates you on defense. So that does not bode well for us in the AFC West if Barney is locked and focused this year.
Yep, that's not going to be good for anyone out there. So let's see, what was his number? He had the ball for 34 minutes. So Yeah, and there was one interception, but that wasn't nowhere near enough to do any damage there. So we're gonna move on. Well, we're gonna go ahead and do this next one. My Seahawks went to Oakland, and yeah, you got me on this one. Oakland taking it from Seattle, 24-17. Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was. Let's just be honest. I mean, I should have had another 13 points in this game. So, it should have been more like 37-17. No, I'm just kidding. No, strong game overall. I think both teams left some points on the field for sure. I had some moments where I felt like things were moving well, and then I suddenly my team would make bonehead plays, such as not being able to apparently spike a ball in less than 9 seconds at the end of the first half to put
Yeah.
myself in for a field goal.
Yep.
How in the world it takes 9 seconds to spike a ball? I have no idea. But anyway,
Gotta get those
hey,
players. Gotta get those players off the field. Gotta get set.
Apparently, we got to run wind sprints for spiking the ball. But I think the big thing that stood out to me in here was the turnover piece. I know you had the 3 turnovers out there. I mean, heck, I had 2 turnovers. So honestly, I don't know how you felt, but I think we both probably played sloppy. I think
Yes.
we both need to clean a few things up. And,
Yes,
I
definitely
think we'll be
sloppy.
all right.
Yes, most definitely
it was
sloppy on there.
sloppy game. We had penalties, we had turnovers. If it wasn't our teams, we probably wouldn't have enjoyed watching the game.
No, I tell you what, I was looking at that playbook. Yeah, this play's got to go. That play's got to go. So
Yeah.
yes, got to rip them out of there. So, and I think as I mentioned before, 2 interceptions, and I think one, if not both of them, was in your end of the field at critical times, and it's just like can't throw interception there. You just can't do it. Can't do it. So we'll have to take a look at those and correct them.
One thing I was happy about was was Chris Olave, my rookie wide receiver, that so many teams passed over in the draft, and I was able to pick him up, I think, in the 4th round, and I had him as a first-round grade. Led my team in receiving, 6 receptions, 84 yards, average 14 yards a reception, and so looks like I was able to, at least after week 1, get a bit of a steal there later in the draft based on a player that people passed over. So I was happy about that.
Yeah, there's gonna be some coaches sitting there saying, "Man, I should have picked him up." Oh, all right. Last game of week 1 was another overtime game. Los Angeles hosting Denver, with the Chargers taking it 16-10.
Well, we already can see that Denver plays much tougher defense than Kansas City did last year. So that's right off the bat. Sorry, Dean. Just aggravating you, Dean. Just
had to needle him a little bit, huh?
Yeah, I know. We couldn't have a show if I didn't pick on Dean a little bit. But no, I think Los Angeles is probably disappointed in this outcome. But I know,
especially being that Denver's an open team.
Yeah, they are. But still, I think even though that's the case, I have a feeling Steve probably overthought some of the game planning for this. And, I think he's happy to get the win, and we'll move on. But, we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's not like he didn't outgain them. I mean, almost outgained them by 150 yards, for crying out loud. But, they went to overtime, and, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I definitely would say you can have some people. I think you mentioned earlier pre-show about people overthinking it, and leading up into one of the shows. The show we did last week was the same thing. Don't overthink it. So if you overthink it, you'll make your mistakes. So that's where that comes from. So as we wrap up everything on week 1, I think overall, very entertaining week, a nice way to get the league kicked off for 2041, and I think we'll have another great season. I think there'll be
Yeah, I think it's going
some
to be
good close
fun.
games. Yep, most definitely.
I think it's gonna be fun, and I like that we've got near full league of, I'll say active owners. I think everyone has their own limitations on how active they can or cannot be, but I get a sense that we have a lot of active coaches or coaches that actually want to have some fun, want to actually try to win some games, and are gonna put some effort into it. That always makes it fun.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think as the commission mentioned that the viewership from looking at the games was a lot higher. So I think I think we're off to a great start, most
Yeah.
definitely. So
Uh-huh.
okay, now moving on. Before we head into the games for week two, there was one thing that I wanted to mention. I know that for this past games, I had made some changes on my plan, and it was not, I'd say, anything that was intended to be malicious, intentional, or anything of those natures. But there was some mistakes that I had made, or some things that was not in line with the rules on my PPP, and I was notified about it. And it was mainly in the first half. So I mentioned it to Mitch happened to notify me about it, and I got that nice, wonderful letter from the commish. Um,
You lost a draft pick too, didn't you? Was that
no,
for the? No.
don't put any thoughts in his head. Don't put any thoughts in his head. Oh my goodness. Hey, commish, just
I think
just
that's the
ignore that
second
one.
offense. You lose a draft pick. I think
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah. So I will say that to you and to the league, it was not meant to be malicious. It was just, and as we continue into this next segment, I think for the coaches that are new to the league, and if you haven't read it on the forum, and for the coaches that have been here for a while, if you haven't read it in a while, or you kind of get into the game and you kind of let things slip. What we're going to talk about next are the profiles. We're looking at how many plays you need to have in each category. What's the difference between, and this is what I was guilty of: run middle, run left, run right, pass short, left and right, medium left and right, long left to right, and trying to understand the logic behind that. And since Mitch has been in the league way longer than me, and we've discussed this a lot, I think this will be a good topic for the league and for the new coaches and for the seasoned coaches as a refresher to go over these topics. So I will go ahead and turn it over to Mitch so we can go ahead and
Yeah.
start. And where would you like to start? Would you like to start with the mistakes that I made, or better
Yeah.
yet, let's discuss about what the different play calls are, the
Yeah.
play types are, what's
Yeah,
been done on each down.
let's just get talk through like come of this kind of the basics, right? We're not going to go too in depth around, how you should build a winning profile and all kind of stuff. But I think based on the discussion that Mark and I was having, I think as he has said, probably for some of our newer coaches, this might be helpful, and maybe for some of our veteran coaches, you might go, okay, I can fast forward through this, but it might be a good listen. And I think your input on this topic on the forum or on the emails, I think would be helpful too for some of our newer folks that are getting in the league. And so the first thing I would say is this: if you have not spent time looking into or you're really digging into the on the league forum in the custom play, custom profile, custom plan section, definitely do so, because if you're have come from other leagues or have spent some time, you feel like you kind of have an idea what's going on, but maybe there's some details you missed out. All the details are spelled out pretty well in there. But a few things I'll just highlight to you is that when it comes to plays, okay, so when it comes to plays, you have to remember, as Mark was saying, just because it says pass short left or pass short right or pass medium left or right, whatever, the play category has nothing to do with the direction of the play. The play categories are designed in the VP NFL format to help create plays that do certain things for certain situations, meaning that your pass medium and pass short left, those are designed to be more first down type plays. Your pass medium middles and your pass short middles, those are designed to be second down plays. And then those pass short right, pass medium rights, those are designed to be third down plays. And so when you look at when you look at the forum and you look into the custom profile, you'll see in there spelled out pretty well. The different categories you can use. For first down, second down, third down. First and second down on offense, I mean, it is pretty basic. You can use your run middles. You can use, pass short left, pass medium left on first down. You can use pass short middle, pass medium middle on second down. On second downs, you can use run right if it's a longer play, so like second and 6 to 10, you can use run rights as well as run middles. And on the shorter runs on second down, like second and 5 or 0 to 1, you can use run left. But from a passing standpoint, it's short middle and medium middle there. Third down, it's a much more wide open concept on those profiles. The only real restriction that you have is that on third and 2 to 5, you do have to use the pass short right plays for part of your profile. It could be 4% of your profile, but that's there. Pass medium right, you have to have some percentage of pass medium right on third and 6 to 10, and on pass long right, you have to have some sort of percentage on third and 10 plus. Otherwise, other than a few little extra restrictions on third and 0 to 1, I mean, third down is kind of wide open. So that's where you can really, cross up your defensive opponent on third down versus first and second, where it's very restrictive. The defensive side of the ball, very few restrictions as far as the profile goes. The only real restrictions that you will have is that your pass razzle-dazzle plays and your pass long defensive plays can't be used on first and second down unless it is 10 plus yards to go. Otherwise, I mean, there might be a few little restrictions that I'm not thinking about, but for the most part, it's kind of wide open there on defense. And so that one, you definitely have a lot more ability to customize. But the defensive profiling part is a lot easier, or you don't have to worry about messing it up so much because there's fewer rules on the defensive profiles. But similar to on offense, just because you might have a defense that's called run left, it doesn't mean that you're trying to stop a run to the left. Or if it's a run right defense, you're not trying to stop a run to the right. Those directional categories, if you will, are nothing more than a different name for the concept of a play. So run left would be more of a basic defense that tries to stop the pass more. Run right is going to try to stop the run more. And then your run middle is going to be kind of balanced, but maybe tend to be a little bit more of a run defense. And then the pass short, pass medium, pass long, I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. So that's that. Mark, anything else that you want to highlight there?
Well, one thing you mentioned as you were going through your explanation, what I think is great, and then like when you have those three types that's in your profile, and you have the percentage, that was there a certain percentage you got to have for each one of them? Like 50% has to be run middle, maybe 25% pass short left, or run right. Is there any percentage you can select the percentage you want? It can't be zero. It has to be more than, say, 20. Or is there any breakdown on that?
No, there is no minimum percentage. Now, you do have to have a play category selected for all three pieces of the profile, right? There's
Right.
three areas you could select, but you have to have three. But there's no minimum or maximum percentage you have for different play types. So, for example, if I wanted to be really aggressive on offense and on first down, you have run middle, pass short left, pass medium left. All right. Well, if I wanted to put my pass medium left play calls, put it to a 10, on the meter, and then I put pass short left and run middle, put it as a 1. It's going to call a pass medium left play, like 82% of the time, and it's going to call a pass short left like 8 or 9% of the time, and a run middle 8 or 9% of the time. I can do that. So basically, even though I have to have three categories there on first down, I'm going to be heavily weighted to pass medium left if I want to be super aggressive,
Right.
right? If I
Mm-hmm.
want to be super conservative, I might do it the other way around, but have run middle as a 10. Right now, I would not recommend you all do that.
Yeah.
I mean, you could. So there is no minimum or maximum, but you do have to have some percentage um, in that category in at least one of three different categories. Yeah.
Okay. Great. And also, guys, we will have in the description of the show this week, we'll have links to this in the forum, so you guys can pull it up. This is for the new coaches, and for those seasoned coaches that it's a nice, good refresher. Every once in a while, it's good to get a little refresher course. So, moving on. After we looking at the profiles, let's look at the game plans. The
Yeah.
offensive and defensive game plans, because this is another thing that some coaches have mentioned. How many plays do I need to have in for each category, and do I need to have the whole playbook filled in, or can I just put the bare minimum in? Is there something in the middle? What are the rules regarding that? So let's start off
Yeah.
with the offensive game plans first. What are the rules for it? How many do you need to have? How many in each category? And do we need to have the full book, the whole game plan filled?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'll say this again. I encourage you to go out onto the forum and go to the custom plans section, because there is a pretty good breakdown there of how it all should work out there. But here's the good news: you do not have to have 64 plays in your playbook on offense or defense. Now, you can if you want to, but you don't have to. And in fact, I would encourage you, particularly for new owners and you're trying to get in the middle, not to have 64 plays. Um, unless you're going to use a lot of different play categories. This is what I mean. So when you're building your offensive game plan, the minimum number of play categories you have to have is that you have to have, at least the run middle category on offense, and you have to have at least 10 plays in that play category. So you got to have at least 10 run middle plays. Okay? That's it. You do not have to have run left plays, run right plays, goal line plays. You don't have to have those. You can, and I will tell you, I do in mine. Okay, so I'm not telling you not to, but you got to have at least 10 run middle plays in your plan. Now, when it comes to other required play categories for your plan, you have to have, the pass short left, pass short middle, pass short right, because those are all going to be required on either first, second, or third downs. Okay. Same thing with pass medium left, pass medium middle, pass medium right, because they're all going to have to be used. There is a requirement for those. And then pass long right, pass razzle dazzle. Okay. Again, those are the run middle and the pass in the directional pass categories. are the only ones that are required. So your run lefts, run rights, goal line run, goal line pass, they are not required. If you don't want to use them, or if you go, gosh, I can't really find any good plays in these categories, but I guess I'll need to pick some plays because it's in. No, I would say if there aren't plays in there you like, then don't have the category. Okay. Now, of the categories that you have in your game plan, all right, like I said, for run middle, you have to have 10. Okay. That is like the basic run category. So you have to have 10 plays. Now, those pass plays like short left, medium, right, all that kind of stuff, the minimum is five plays. Okay. Pass long right, it's five. I mean, sorry, it's four is the minimum. And razzle dazzle pass, the minimum is four. Now, here's what I would tell you. When I first got back into the league and was, game planning and things, I would sometimes have, seven, eight plays of a category because I'd find a play and I'd go, well, I kind of like this play. I'd like to have, potential exposure of this play against this team, or this play's pretty good too. I'd like to have that. Here's what I have learned, and I learned some of this from just getting beat, but also too from some articles out on FB Pro University, or University of FB Pro. I forget what they call it, but anyway, there's some really good articles out there around building profiles. And one of the things I learned on there is try to have like the least number of plays in a play category that you can have, because guess what? If the minimum number we have to have is five, that means that you only need to find, out of the thousands of plays that we have, five really good plays to be selected for that category. If you had 7, 8, 9 plays like I would have at the time, yeah, they all might be pretty good. But I guarantee if you have 9 plays in the play category, I guarantee you 4 or 5 of those plays are going to be much better than 4 or 5 of the other plays in your playbook, right? And the more clutter you have in your play categories, the higher the probability that the really good play that you wish would be called is not going to get called. And so I recommend folks if the minimum for a category is 5, try not to do more than 5. If the minimum is 4, don't do more than 4. Find the 4 or 5, depending on the category, best plays and include those. All right. So that'd be my tip. How you find those plays. I mean, everyone has a different way of game planning. I'm not going to tell you what's the best way to do it. I know I have my own little process of where I use the logger program and the WinLog program to try to recreate a kind of a practice PPP of my upcoming opponent, and then I'll practice multiple different plays against that practice game plan, and to help me determine, hey, which plays might make the most sense for matchups for my team versus my opponent. Others
Mm-hmm.
like to go through the game log and make spreadsheets on things. Others just watch the games and kind of do what they got to do. But I would just say this: the fewer plays that you use in a play category, the less likely a chance you're going to get a play that isn't good being called. So that's all I'll say on that, Mark.
Okay. Now, you covered the offense. Now, what do we have on the defensive side of the ball? What's the minimum plays you need to have for the defensive side?
Yeah, similar on offense, there are 6 categories that are absolutely required, and those are the run lefts, the run middles, and the run rights, and then the pass long, the pass medium, and the pass short. Okay, so the goal line run and pass, and the razzle dazzle pass, the razzle dazzle run, those are not required. Only those initial 6 categories, the I guess I call them the directional categories, are required, and each of those require at least 6 plays. Okay, if you do dabble into the goal lines and the razzle dazzles, only 4 plays are required there. And I will say I include those in mine. All right, so I'm definitely not saying not to at all. In fact, sometimes some of those play categories, since you have fewer required plays, can allow you to specialize in some certain key situations of the game. But for bare minimum, those six categories, six plays each, and the same concept. So I used to have 10 defensive plays in a category. Well, okay, that's great. Well, I probably had five plays that were really good, and I had probably had five plays in there that were okay. Well, guess what kept getting called every time in a tough situation? The play that was okay, never the really good play. So if you narrow down the number of plays you have in the category to the really good ones, or the ones you think are going to be really good, right? Your opponent has something to say about that too. You're going to be in much better shape when those plays are called into your profile.
That's how those weaker ones, the weaker plays that where you're kind of on the cusp, like, yeah, they're okay, but they're stopping them. But I really want these in there. So, and I've ran across that a couple times as well. So, at a minimum on the defensive side of the ball, minimum you need to have 36 plays in your book. At a minimum, you can have more, but at a minimum, you need to have 36. So, definitely, I think that's good information for everyone to know. Again, for the new coaches and for some of the seasoned coaches been around there. Again, we are going to list the links on the description for the show, for the forum, for the different sections, and for the University of FB Pro. For those that might not have that link or just lost it or never knew it existed, there are some good information that's there. On the left side is broken down into sections. Your PPP tutorials, some very good information there. I'm thinking it's probably dated a little bit as far as when they were originally created, but definitely there's some good information there. So it talks about the PPP. There's some additional stuff, draft and roster management, so you can look at that. Even ratings and training camp tips. I think that's another thing some coaches have discussed about when you're doing your training camp. How much percentage do I need to put into a certain position to see it go up 1 or 2 points? I was one of the first hiccups I ran into was I was thinking, okay, I need to kind of even it out to get someone's numbers up there, to get them to move. And I was told, no, that's not what we do here. You need to start dumping some percentage in there, 45, 50, 60% to get something to move on a player, which one you want. So you got to focus on what attribute you want to increase and then dump your points into that. And then you can kind of go down through that way. So you may have a player, it may take several years to get him to where he needs to be, but focus on that one attribute, your most important one. Would you agree?
Yeah, and that's tend to be how I go. And a lot of times when I'm drafting players, I take into account, hey, how long is it going to take me to get this player anywhere close to their maximum ratings? And I might pass on a player that has great potential for a player that has good potential, because by the time I get that great player to the same level as the player with good potential, heck, with our new anti-aging rules, that player might only have 1, maybe 2 years before they go into the anti-aging not training camps, but the physicals. And so it's like, I don't want to take the chance that player's going to retire on me by the time I get them to where they want to be.
Yeah, exactly. So, but definitely, I mean, like I said, overall, I mean, guys, there's a ton of information in here. I've started going through it, and definitely there's some things that I knew about the game, but then there's a lot of stuff that I did not know or did not look at it that way. So I would highly recommend you guys take a look at it, because someone actually took the time to really break this down and write it down. And I think this will definitely take your game, if you're serious about it, take that game to the next level and hopefully beat the Jets. Sorry, Coach. I had to, you're you are the guy that's on the mountain. You are the Bill Belichick of our league. You don't have to say a word. You know what you can do, and just sit down there and just look at all the animals, all the other guys, coaches just sitting there fighting that while you're sitting up top saying, yeah, somebody will come up here and I'll just smack him back down the hill.
Yeah, he's on to Cincinnati.
Yep. Moving on to the next game. So I had to throw that in there because he's the top dog, and we all want to be in that top dog spot. So if you guys are serious about it, you want to make a real concerted effort. Definitely, there's information out there to kind of help you, because I'm definitely planning on doing that, because Oakland's days of being the top dog in the division are numbered.
Well, no, LA might have something to say to you about that, since they won the division last year.
Yeah, their days are number 2. Hey, I gotta talk my talk. Give somebody locker room fodder. So
that's right.
Okay, we're gonna move on to. Let me get myself out of trouble. We're gonna move on to next week's games.
Speaking of Los Angeles.
Oh my goodness. I just set myself up for that one. So
yeah. So I'm already taking Los Angeles by 2 touchdowns now against Seattle, but
they're not. Hey, look. I beat the spread. I'll beat the spread again. So I'm not worried about that. Very good. Going into week 2, we are going to start off. First game is the Cardinals playing the Giants. There's a 14.5 for the Cardinals. What is your analysis on this game coming up?
Well, based on New York's performance against New Orleans, I'm taking Chicago big time.
Okay. Yep. I have to agree. Got to go with the Cardinals as well. So next game, Raiders against the 49ers, 7.5 for the Raiders.
I don't know, man. Battle of the Bay. It's been a while since I've lost to Charlie. I don't even know if I've ever lost to Charlie. I'm sure I did my first year or so into the league, but I think this is going to be a really good game. I think, of course, I'm going to pick myself to win it, but I don't know. If good Charlie shows up, I think it's going to be a really tight game. If bad Charlie shows up, I should be able to cover that spread.
Well, I think even though they lost, they did put up some good numbers, some good points. So I'm going to split with you on this one. I am picking the 49ers. So I'm trying to get back in the commission's good graces. So I got to pick up the pom-poms for him and root for him.
That wishful thinking.
Yeah, I know. You gotta suck him to the commish.
That's right. There you go.
Next game, Packers at the Raiders, 9.5 for the Redskins. Thoughts?
I'll go with the Redskins. I think our new coach, he's not ready for that.
He's not ready for that yet.
Not ready for Derry.
Hey, yeah, not yet. But if he wins this game, then he'll probably turn some heads a little bit. I'm with you. I will pick the Redskins as well. Yep. Next game, Saints at the Rams. They're giving Saints 6.5.
Well, I mean, they definitely came out the gate strong last week. Anaheim kind of laid an egg. So I'm thinking Anaheim's going to definitely want to rebound from that at home. What was the spread again on that? 6.5?
6.5.
I'm going to take New Orleans, but I have a feeling Anaheim's going to cover that spread.
I would agree with you. They're going to cover that spread. Yeah. I'm gonna go with the Rams. I'm gonna. Well, you know what? No, change that. I'm gonna take the Saints.
All right.
I'm gonna take the Saints on this one. I think they will. They'll be 2-0. So I think so. No brainer. Jets going to the Falcons. Jets 13.5. Jets.
I'm going to take the Jets.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the Jets.
Nothing against the Falcons, but when you play Murph, you know what you're getting. You know what you're going to get.
Usually getting the tail whipping's what you're getting.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Like my mother used to say, beat you like you stole something. So
that's right. Well, if the backup quarterback could score 46 points, if Carr's back this week, imagine what might happen. So we'll see.
Yeah. Next game, Patriots and the Lions. Lions have an 8.5 point. I think the Lions will win, but the Patriots will beat the spread. I believe it's going to be.
What's that? Let's see. What's that spread again?
It's 8.5.
Well, the Patriots did get beat pretty handily by the Packers, but that was 3 interceptions. I don't think Mox is going to let the Patriots do that again. Yeah, I'm going Lions, but I don't. Yeah, they might. The Lions might cover that spread, but I think Patriots play much better this week.
I think the Patriots. So I think the spread will probably be closer to maybe 6. Yeah, it's about 6. Close enough. Jaguars versus Colts. Jaguars 4.5.
You know what? I'm going to put it out there. I'm taking the Colts. Taking the Colts outright.
Wow.
I'm taking the Colts outright.
I did not expect that. So you're looking for that upset, huh?
Yeah. I don't know. Just got that feeling. I think it's going to be. I think the Colts are going to switch to Kyle Allen, based on the recommendation earlier in the segment, and they're gonna take it from Jacksonville this week.
I'm taking the safe bet. I'm going with Jacksonville. I think I'm gonna take Jacksonville. I think 4.5. I think it'll be a little bit larger than that. I'm thinking probably 7.5.
Yeah.
Yep. Seahawks at the Chargers. I will have all my mistakes corrected. I am picking my win over the Chargers, and I do not believe that it will be a 10.5 point difference. I would say the spread should be 7.
14?
7. I say 7. 6.5. 6.5.
Well, here's what you know. If you use the Denver defensive game plan profile, you'll hold them down pretty well. Good idea. Hey, there you go. I think 10.5 might be a little steep. If you could score some more points, I think you have a chance at this game. I definitely don't think it's going to be 10.5 for the Chargers, though.
No, and like I said, I have plenty of work to do this week and a lot of mistakes to fix. So definitely, I don't think it's going to be that big of a lead or that big of a spread. So, and the final game is the Broncos at the Vikings 9.5.
I'm going. The Vikings are going to win this game. 9.5. Yeah, I'm going to say, okay, fine. Vikings win it by at least 10. Yeah.
Vikings win.
It might be 10-0, but I think they'll win. I think they'll win by 10.
I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a much closer spread. 6. I give it 6. Right. So, yeah, I think it's going to be 6. But the Vikings will win this one. So,
all right,
guys. So, We did run a little bit longer, but I think that longer than our normal shows. We, believe it or not, we try to keep it around 30, but I think we kind of threw the towel in on that one. Like, yeah, there's no way. And I think this show was very important to get some information out. It definitely was helped me out, and I think it's going to help some of the coaches out there, some of the new ones, and some of the veteran coaches out there as well. So I want to thank you, Mitch, for breaking all this down, and I think we should have some other good topics coming up next week, some other ideas, some other good things as well to kind of give some guys some refreshers and help the new coaches out as well.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, so as we get ready to close this show out, this is This Week in the PNFL, and Mitch, you want to go ahead and send us home?
Let's get it.